We'll go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for attending this webinar. We're going to start with Mark Krugen's presentation. And Mark is very knowledgeable when it comes to Flexi. He's been in the sign industry for over 25 years. He's owned a couple of sign shops, and currently he tours around the country giving presentations and training on Flexi. So he's the man who knows what he's talking about. And we're going to first have him give his presentation, show us all about the different finishing tools and options in Flexi. Then after that, we're also going to have a Q&A session. So for that, you'll just type your questions into the little chat bar at the bottom, and go ahead and type in the questions. Even if he's still explaining something, you can go ahead and type in your next question so you don't forget it, and so that we see, what questions are next, and if people have similar questions, we can get those answered for you. So with that, I'm going to turn the time over to Mark for a presentation.
Well, thank you very much. And I might mention also we are recording our session, and we'll have an online version of this as well. So if you get dropped out or something, just don't worry, we'll be in touch with you. So thanks everyone for attending. We have a really interesting topic for today, which is finishing tools. And like you see on the main screen there, maybe finishing to you might mean preparing banners. Where do you put the grommets? How do you make fold lines? That sort of thing. Or perhaps it might be some other kind of project like gallery wraps or putting images in a frame, something like that. But whatever the case may be, there are two ways to create the proper type of finishing that you're going to need using Flexi and Flexi's Production Manager. There's so many different projects out there that we work on. Grommets, have always been one of those challenging things. Having run a sign shop myself, I know sometimes when I get in a rush and, I've got my banner laid out on the table there, and I just sort of guess where the middle is if I'm putting in a banner grommet or something like that, and they don't line up right. So we want to be able to be more professional and get that right. And then in terms of gallery wraps, really nice, interesting things that we've got to do with that in terms of folding it over the frame and having the right crease areas and so forth, and even just putting graphics in frames is an important feature. So there's things with banners, for instance, that we really have to take into account. A banner is interesting. We have to make sure it's reinforced along the edges, which means we're going to fold it over. Whether we're going to hem it by sewing it, if we have that capability, or use a banner tape. In any case, we'll probably be adding grommets to it. And we want the banner to look good. We don't want any white edges left over where we fold it and so forth. We want it to look like it bleeds all the way to the edge. And that's something that you'll be able to do in Flexi and Production Manager. And then as you see here, in regards to gallery wraps, that frame, we've got to be able to take that image all the way around the frame and even perhaps behind that frame when we tack it down so that we don't have any exposed edges. This is a really popular way of framing using canvas. And, there's a lot of new companies out there that have released new canvas materials now. They're making a pretty good economy versions of canvas that look very much like canvas if they are canvas, and it's great for printing. And this kind of project, I did a lot of this in my shop, and just small projects, little photos of the cheerleader or the baseball team or something like that. It's really a great project and a good money maker for you. You should look into it if you're not doing it already. And then there's a lot of backlit as well as just standard frames. These might go in a hotel or something like that, or in a trade show. In any case, though, the frame itself uses a little bit of extra material in order to hold it in place, and we want to be able to bleed that out. So again, we don't have any of the exposed edges with a line in it or something like that. So let's talk about the two different methods that I'm going to go over today for creating these markers. And I'm going to use a banner as an example, but this would apply to any of those projects. The first way is actually to create templates for yourself. Flexi has the ability to use templates. Now, templates are pre-created areas of graphics that allow you to insert drawings into it and pretty much automatically size it and so forth. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It's a manual method, and the reason I'm showing this is because if you're using, Flexi 8 or 10 or something like that and haven't upgraded yet, and by the way, shame on you if you haven't, but anyway, if you haven't upgraded yet, you may not have the production manager version, which you're going to see after this. That makes it so much easier. The production manager has the ability to just turn on and off features. So you're going to see in production manager what we've done in the kind of the manual side that I'm going to show you here. It's just more automated in production manager and makes life pretty simple for those of you that have Flexi 12. It's a great feature in there as well. So the first method we're going to talk about is just creating a template in Flexi. In this case, what we have to do is we have to kind of create a document. We're going to add fold lines, and we're going to use guidelines to do that. I'll show you how to create a grommet and how to place those evenly spaced around a banner. We're going to talk about how to set that template as in a drawing area in that template, and then save it, and then you'll be able to use that in the future. A lot of folks. I was in a sign shop several months ago, and they were using Illustrator actually for all of their artwork, and they had set up a macro for adding grommet locations and so forth, but there wasn't a lot of control over it, and you can really use templates in Flexi. It's a lot easier to do. So let me show you that one. Let's go ahead and go into Flexi here. First of all, I'm going to open up a template that I've already created. I'm just going to go to the File menu here, and when you have Flexi, there are templates here, and I've added actually the template toolbar up at the top to make this a little easier for us. So up here at the top is my template toolbar right here. So I'm going to open the template that I've already created, and I've named it 3x6 banner with grommets. You can name it anything you want, make it easy for you. So basically it looks something like this, and what you're seeing here is I've made a 3x6 area, and I put my guidelines. I've just pulled guidelines down and put them on the edges here, and the reason there's multiple guidelines is I'm going to use this inside area here where you see the big X. That's going to be my drawing area, and then my fold is going to be a 1-inch fold on the outside. So these are 1-inch guidelines apart. The black dots that you're seeing there are actually just circles that I've drawn, but I'm using them to represent grommets. And then the big X that you actually see here is excuse me, it's actually part of the template process. It's called the drawing area. It's kind of like a holding place for drawings that you can make in there. I even have, I'm also going to be using the design editor. You folks may not have used this very much. This is design editor. It's kind of like the layer manager in Flexi. And I'm going to show you my layers here, because what I've done in putting this graphic or this template together is I've got the banner area, which you can see now highlighted. It makes it easier to kind of pick things out and remember what they are. Here's my fold. That's going to be the edge of my graphic area. I renamed one of the circles grommet. It could have named all of them grommet. So you could actually name your layers in here to make it easy for manipulation. So for instance, on my fold right here, I'm going to go to my stroke editor and undo that. And I'm going to go ahead and paint that white. And basically what that does is that'll show you like a little marker edge here. So what I've done is I've created that fold line, and this is the same size as my graphic. And basically I've put a dashed stroke around it. And so if I were to print the banner out in this area right here, what would happen is it would even print that little dotted line if I wanted. I can create that line, that stroke, to be any pattern I want. It could be just a series of small dots or a solid line, and it could be any width that you want. And the reason I'm doing that is that would give me, for instance, maybe a place where I might do my sewing, or it could be a place where I'm adding, I'm just definitely going to fold in that area and so forth. So you can create this very, very simply, and it's easy to make. I'm going to go ahead and close that for now. Let's close this one up real quick. And I just want to show you how to use it, and then I'll show you how to create it. So I'm going to open a file up, and today I'm going to use just a photograph to make this simple. So we want to create a giant 4x6 banner out of this for this particular graphic here. When you have that template in Flexi, what's nice is you can actually use it. So I'm going I'm actually going to apply a template to this particular graphic, right? So you'll go through up here. You see there's an apply template here. What that does is that allows you to take the graphic that you see on the screen and then select a template and apply it to that graphic. So if I click on that and click apply, and that's my banner grommeted banner selection, when I hit select, it creates a new file. And what it basically did there was it inserted that drawing into my template. Now, that drawing obviously is not stretched long enough, so I'm just going to stretch this, and I hope I don't embarrass these ladies. They probably don't like being made a little wider, but that's okay. We're playing around here, aren't we? So I'm just going to stretch it. So you see why I have the guidelines in there, because I can snap it to that edge. They snap to the guideline like that. And then I'm going to actually right-click on here and move that graphic to the back, and that's going to expose my grommets. Now, those grommets are black. You know, they're kind of hard to see, so I want to change the color of this. And this is where it becomes handy to just use your design editor here. You know, you can use this, and this is why I probably would have named these. But here's something really cool. I'm going to click on that grommet right there, and I can right-click and say select everything that's a grommet, select everything that's a similar object. So it's selected all of those. And you can see them here. They're all selected, and I'm just going to change them to white. Okay? And then what that does is that shows you your grommets, and they're exposed there. So this is just a manual method of doing this. If I wanted to add bleed, let's say to expand the graphic out to the edge around the actual place here, what I could do is I could just copy the graphic, and then I go back in here and I'll paste over. And what that's going to do is paste it exactly in the same place where it was. So it's basically just duplicating that graphic for me. And what I'll do here is sometimes if I'm using this method, I go to my bitmap menu here and I just blur this really bad. I'm going to blur it pretty a whole lot, and I'll show you why I'm doing that here. Okay. Now what I'll do is I could actually extend this graphic to the edges. Again, I could snap it all the way around. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm just sort of pulling that to the edge. This is going to be kind of my bleed, so I'm move that out of the way there. I'm just going to pull that over like that, and then I'm going to right-click and send that to the back. Okay. So you folks that don't have Flexi 12, you can get all this done, but you see all the labor involved. I've got my graphic, I've got my bleed, I've got a little dash line for my fold line if I want to use that. I've added my grommets and changed the colors. And again, I'd have to, if I didn't want that many grommets, I could manually change the size of the grommet holes if I want to, the markers and so forth. All of that is possible to do just in Flexi itself, you know. So this is just an example. So I already created that template. And again, the way I created that was I actually had a blank page like this. And I literally, and I'm just going to do this quickly so you can see this, I literally were pulling out, you know, the size of my actual banner area itself. And then I set another line, you know, like this to represent. And by the way, these lines here, you can control exactly where you set those. So I'm just doing this rapidly to accommodate our webinar here. But you can set those very accurately in Flexi. And basically what you do is you just click on a guideline. And in Design Central, you can actually tell where you want to locate that guideline. So you can exactly locate it wherever you need to. So that would kind of form my banner area right there. And then for grommets, what I did was I just chose a circle, right, like that. And basically I positioned that circle whatever amount I wanted and whatever size I wanted. Oops. Let's grab that. You see how it's kind of a little challenge here because they're small. But I would set that on here, you know, wherever I needed it. And if I wanted multiple copies, like I'm going to put 3 across and 4 across the top or something like that, what I would do is select that and use in the Arrange menu the ability to do the step and repeat process. So again, and let me shrink this down since it's, again, I'm doing this as an example. Okay. Okay, so you can set this in any direction that you want, top, bottom, and so forth. So I'm just, as I said here, I'm just sort of placing these like this, right? So you could change those to any distance you want across and so forth, at whatever amount of space that you wanted between those, and locate them again wherever exactly you wanted it. So when I click OK, those would be my grommets. And then just delete the interior ones, and you've got the exterior grommets. So again, all this is just, again, I'm just sort of making a template here. The last step would be to go to that file menu and choose your templates, or if you have the template toolbar open over here, I would add what's called an active drawing placeholder. Basically, what this does is this tells Flexi that whenever you put a drawing into this template here, you're trying to make it fit in a certain place. So I'm actually locating this so that it snaps right to the edge of the guidelines here. Okay. So that's kind of quickly an overview of how I would make my template. At this point, I would then save that template, and I would just do Save As, and then I would name that template anything I want. And again, I want to open up the old one just to kind of show you what this looks like. I'm just going to open that template up that I actually created. One additional step after you have your template created like that, a really good idea is to go to your design editor. That's the design editor right here. It's a new menu. And what you can do is go to your layers, or objects in your page, and then you can just name these any way you want, so you can identify the different parts of your graphic there. And again, because I used a circle, and a circle is an object in Flexi, I could make those grommets, resize them. I could use delete certain copies of them, move them wherever I want to on my my graphic in order to create that look that I'm after in terms of using that with my with the graphics that I'm trying to make into, in this case, a banner. So I would, if you don't have Flexi 12 and you're trying to do something, you might create a series of templates for different size jobs that you're doing, whether it's a frame or a gallery wrap or something like that, and you'll be able to actually use Flexi itself to create those locations like that. But gosh, if you upgrade it to Flexi 12, it's going to make life so much simpler. Let me just open up my production manager here, and I've got that same drawing over on the right here, and I've actually got this set up already. It's 3 by 6 feet, just like I had in the other template that I was using, and I'm just going to double click on the name of this file, okay? And that's going to bring up a menu, and that menu, or that dialog box there, actually has is where you're controlling things like your color management and kind of preparing your graphic for print. But there's a very nice feature here at the very end. It looks like a little grommet on a banner edge right there. It's called Finishing. And I'm going to click on that and watch how much easier it is to do in Production Manager and Flexi 12. I'm going to add my grommets. I just turn them on and off here. I control the size by making the size larger or smaller. I tell it how far in I want to put those. If I want to make them 2 inches in, just make them 2 inches. And I can set these and offset them by whatever amounts I want, right? I mean, I put them 2 inches on the other graphic, so I'm just going to do that here too. And as you can see, I've got grommets in here. Again, I can control much easier. If I only want 4 grommets in there, if I only want 3 across the side, it's easy for me to control where those grommets are. Now, you saw they're actually going to print. These are actually going to print when you print your banner out, so that you can see where you need to put those grommet holes with your make those grommet holes with your machine, right? But I can do it by number. I can also just do it by distance if I want to. Just tell how far apart I want those grommets to be, right? Whatever amount I want to choose them. If I want them to be, say, 12 inches apart, just type in 12. If I want them to be 24 inches apart, type in 24. It makes it real easy. I can also change the color of the grommets here. Sometimes that's kind of good if you want to change that color, because it might mean that you have the something like a black background and you can't see black grommet placement. You change it to a different color, a lighter color. You could change it to a color that maybe is very close to the background color here, because you don't want to, if you happen to just miss one of the grommets in that green back there, placements, it kind of matches the color of the actual scene itself. So that's another option that you have for your grommet placement as well. And then, of course, you can change the size of the grommet here. There's even an ability to add rectangles in here if you're going to thread maybe some grommet rope through the top or bottom or whatever the case may be. In case you need to use it, all those options are there just for grommets. Now, let's also add a fold line. Again, all I do is turn that on, and it's automatically giving me a fold line, in this case a 2-inch fold line. I can make that any size I want. Very, very easy to do. And by the way, you see these little markers here. If I change the size of one of these and then I go back and click on there, it changes all of them to the same size. So it even speeds up the process. So if I want a 2-inch fold line all on everything, I can just change one of these and then make everything equal by clicking here. I can turn on a frame so that it will print a little black line around the outside edge, because sometimes we're printing on, in this case I have it rotated, and maybe I'm printing on wider banner that I've inserted into my printer. I need to be able to cut it out properly, not guess where the edge is. And so here this allows me to put that in. I can add a stitch line in here. This is kind of like that dashed stroke that I put on in Flexi, but that's automated here. It's kind of nice. And again, you can change the color of all these to make it more appropriate for the job you're working on. And then as I go down, I click on bleed here. And what's happening here is it's automatically, and I'm going to zoom in on a corner here, it's automatically taking my bitmap here and stretching it out. And it's actually doing a better job than I was doing in my other job, right? Because what happened is that it's taking the actual graphic itself. I don't have to blur it. I don't have to do any of that. It's actually using the actual graphic itself here. And you can see it's just extending it beyond the fold line so that I don't have a white mark right there. And then it's also doing something else that I would have to do manually back in Flexi. In this case, because it's a banner, it's actually cutting the corner out for me. So I don't have to actually print that right in there. I actually know that that's where I need to make a cut. So all these black lines are showing you either folds or cut places and so forth. It's helping you to create this properly. Now, if I was using this in a gallery wrap, I would want those corners there because I want to be able to make sure I can hide the frame. I don't want to have an exposed edge on my frame. So it's as simple as just turning no corners off over here, and then it will print that edge for you. So it's just that simple. It's really kind of pretty cool capability here to be able to create all of this appropriately. Again, I can mirror this. So if I hit the repeat right here, what it does is it just stretches it out. If I hit mirror, it actually mirrors the edge here by whatever amount. So again, that kind of gives you another option for completing the edge of your graphic. I think this is a really, really awesome tool for creating everything. Once you've got all that done, what you're going to do is just click OK over here. And as you can see, it's updated my preview in my graphic here. Basically what it's showing me is this is how it's going to print. It's actually showing me all the things it's printing here. It's going to show me my fold line. It's going to print everything, my grommets, anything that I need to get done in this graphic. And it looks really, really good. And that's going to make finishing a very easy project with Flexi. It's a very, very strong capability just doing that. And as you notice the difference here, this slide here, when I created the Flexi template, you can do it in Flexi. It's absolutely not hard at all. It just takes a little practice, and you can save as many templates as you want. So you can do that, but you see all the steps involved here. When I'm using Flexi 12, it's basically turn on and off the needed features and just change them. So it's only 2 steps. It's a great, easy way to work with your Flexi product. So that's basically your finishing tools in Flexi, and it's an awesome way to work with it. This is just one of many lessons that we have that that we train on when we have our live seminars. Folks that have been to it or folks that will go to it see this as well as many other features in Flexi. And we also, for all of you out there, we really encourage you to get more education on this because it's really just learning how to use the product. And I would encourage you to maybe investigate our training DVD. There's about 10 hours of Flexi training on that, and if you've got a pen or a paper handy, just write down that link down there at the bottom, and you can place an order for that. It's very interactive. We've divided it into beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and we've even added color management topics, many other topics to it to make it very, very well-rounded training, and the reviews on it are just fantastic. So we appreciate it if you have one, and if not, we encourage you to get one. At this point, Stuart, I'm ready to take a few questions if you'd like to run some by me.
Yeah, we're going to open it up to everyone to ask any questions that you have. We'd like to start with any questions that you have about the finishing tools. If you'd like Mark to go over anything that he's just talked about in a little more detail or just to review it, go ahead and type those questions into the chat window there. After we have a few of those, we'll open it up to general questions about Flexi. So if you have anything you've been wondering or just something you'd like to see how to do a little easier and quicker, go ahead and type those into the bottom window, and we'll give those to Mark, and he'll be able to walk us through. Okay, it looks like we have a few people just typing up.
Sure, that's fine. Just wanted to greet people from, well, let's see here, Texas. Oh, good, that's where I'm from originally. New York, yeah, cool. Delaware, Tennessee, Georgia, Fort Collins. Awesome.
Okay, so looks like Leland has a question for you about Flexi. It says, how can I delete profiles I no longer need from Production Manager?
Are you if he's talking about color management profiles, I would imagine. So, excuse me.
Yes.
Okay, so here's a whole bunch of profiles in here that are available to you, right? Those profiles that you have in here actually reside on the hard drive in a folder called ICC Profile. Basically, if you go into your Windows folder and you navigate to the SAI Production Suite folder under Program Files, which I'll show you here in just a moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to navigate over here to my SAI, and here's my production suite. And then you see ICC Profiles here. So this will be, what the list here will actually be a list of the devices that you actually own. So it could be your Muto or Roland or whatever it is you own. And when you double click on that, you'll actually see the name of all the profiles in here. So if there's some that you don't need, you can click on them and delete them in here, and then they will not show up when you have this list over here in Flexi. You can also just use this list, by the way, for those of you interested. This is a list of all the profiles. You can also add profiles from here. So if you have custom profiles that have been made by a manufacturer, you can actually add them to Flexi as well.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Make things a little easier to manage. So we've got a couple more questions, and if anyone else does have any, feel free to type them into the message bar while he's answering, and we can get to those as well. So John had a question about finishing cut vinyl. He said that the other day he tried using registration marks to finish layered cut vinyl, and the one on the top layer did not line up with the back layer. Do you know what would cause that or how he can fix that?
Not certain what that would be. Let me close a couple of things here, and what I found is, and I'll do this just to kind of give us something to talk about. So let's say we're gonna cut these out of 2 different colors here in vinyl. And oh, by the way, you see the little dash mark? I still have my stroke on. Let's clear those strokes off of there. That was from the previous example. Okay. So one of the things that that I've found folks can do that might be easier for you for as registration marks. So if I'm cutting vinyl and I'm adding registration marks in my shape menu here, there's actually these registration marks. And what can happen with those is you can set those, you can create them in different sizes and so forth. And the reason you do that is when you get ready to cut this out and you go to your vinyl cutter over here, what it does is it adds those registration marks in for you. And again, I've got this flipped. But so if I'm cutting my green, it's going to cut my green star and the 2 registration marks, and then it's going to cut my magenta star and the 2 registration marks. And then basically what that will do is it will allow you to line up. You put your transfer tape, say, on your green star and the registration marks, and put that on your substrate, and then do the same thing with the magenta ones, and you just line up the registration marks here. So a lot of folks use that right there. It certainly works, and I can appreciate that. What I sometimes find even better, and I found kind of just easier to use, is I might actually draw a big hinge like this, okay, in some other color that you know is not part of the design. So in my case, black is an easy one to use. And the reason I like this is because it's long and it's easier to see, and it also is, it's not at an angle at all. I'm going to use this as my registration mark. So how do I do that? Well, when I go to my vinyl cutter over here and I click on my cutter, it wants to cut all these as separate pieces, right? So a little tip here, actually just go to your cut routine over here. It's the 3rd tab over. And I'm going to click Send All Colors. So this is actually showing me all my colors now I have. And just to make this clear, let me make it a little bit bigger so you can see this, just so it's easier to see for everyone. There we go. Okay. So basically what I want to do is I want to use that black line as my registration mark. But I don't want to cut all of these at the same time. Well, if I turn on, as I said here, Send All Colors, then what I can do is I can right-click. I don't want to cut the magenta yet, so I'm going to right-click over here, and I'm just going to uncheck that, and that will cut that hinge and the green star. And then when I get ready to cut the magenta, I'll turn it on and turn off my green, and it will cut the magenta and that long hinge right there. And then what that does is it makes it a lot easier to line it up because it's a long line, and you can use, by the way, any shape you want for that. And I like it because it makes it easy for me to line it up. I can make sure that it's exactly lined up with the bottom one. It's a bigger hinge for me, and I'm not using that much more vinyl. And it's really I think a better method for creating a nice way for doing multiple colors. So hopefully that helps you. I don't know the answer to your technical issue that you had, but maybe this new method will help you get even better results. Good question.
Okay, thank you, Mark. So it looks like we have another question here from Kyle. He asked, why do I sometimes get different colors when printing the same file in a different date or time, and I'm using the same profile, same image, and same media? Is ripping the same?
Yeah, you shouldn't get different results if everything is held to the same. So what we mean by that is that if you in this file, for instance, here, I'll just get rid of that black line. If I go up and I click on the very top here, there's a soft proof capability. That's actually showing me a proof of what's going to print on my device. In the Edit menu, there's a color settings selection that allows you to actually control the output that's being done on your machine. So, for instance, I'm going to go ahead and use a Muto as an example in this case, perhaps. So if I'm printing and I have this monitor profile set to sRGB, and I have a Muto, and I'm using 3M IJ160, I should see a preview of what's happening here, and you can see how dark that green got right there. So if I go back to my color settings and I look at my input profile, I notice that it's set to this Adobe RGB, and that's the reason this turns such a dark color here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that. The best color matching is to make sure that change it to sRGB, and basically what that does is that gives you now a true preview of what's going to print, and it's a better, closer color matching capability. So with all that said, without going into huge detail on color management, basically what the problem is that if I've set these color settings up, excuse me, hit the wrong menu there. If I set these color settings up like this, where it says sRGB and Muto and 3M, and my input profile says all of these settings here. So I'm looking at this box right here, right? When I send that out to my printer to print, what I want to do is in that third tab, I just want to make absolutely sure that this is all set to the same thing. So if I go to Muto, I don't have my Muto set up, sorry, right now. But let's say we were printing on the Muto. What I would want to make sure is that my color profile matched the one that I had back in my Flexi software. I want to make sure that when I click on color settings here, that says sRGB just like it did back in Flexi, that all the settings under this color settings button, as well as all the settings in here, and my driver options, and that's probably one that you'll have to investigate also. Make sure all those are equal to the original job, then your output should match the original job. You can always, by the way, save these settings once they get into your production manager. I'm going to put this on hold here. This is kind of a good thing to kind of look at here. Let me just show you this. This might help you also, by the way. Okay. So if I get a job into production manager over here, and I know that job is printing properly, one of the things that you can do in Flexi is to simply take the job. I'll let this load up here. Sorry, my machine's a little bit slow. I'll just use it on the banner here because it's the same thing. What you might want to do is double-click on that file, and right up here at the top there's a thing called preset. So if everything printed properly the first time and everything looks great, you can just go in here and save that and just name it. Just click all these buttons, select all of them, okay, and click OK, and then name that. And this might be the name of the customer or the name of the job or something like that, whatever you want to name it. And then what would happen is it would actually remember that preset for you. So the next time you do that job, what you would do is load it up, send it to Production Manager on hold, and instead of setting up all your color management, you can just go to your preset, and it would load up all your color management settings exactly identical to the original job. So those the only reason I can think of for an effect you might have is that the color management settings got changed somehow, or the machine settings itself got changed somehow. Those are the only two things that would affect it that way.
Okay, thank you. So it looks like we have one more question from Emmerich, and he was wondering if he can use the Flexi finishing tools with Versaworks, or if not, what is the difference between using Versaworks to print versus printing straight from Flexi?
Yeah, an excellent question. Let's open up the file that we did earlier. You see why I made the template, by the way. You can see now the actual speed. So I'm just going to use that graphic, and I'll use I'll apply a template to it. Oops. Let's apply a template to it. Okay. And I'll stretch that dude out again like that. So basically I've got my template done here, and if I'm using somebody else's RIP software, which, maybe I just want to for some reason, send that to the back. And I think what we're going to do here is, let me do this the right way. Go to my layers, select everything that's the same, paint them white. so we can see them, I guess. I selected the wrong thing. Sorry. I don't want to be there. I want to be there. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to close some of these things so we can see what we've got here. So now I have my graphic. One of the nice things about Flexi is if you have another RIP software such as Versaworks or Onyx or something like that, there's usually a button that's going to show up at the top here that allows you to actually send that job. So if I were to click on Send to Versaworks here, and I'll go ahead and start my version of Versaworks up. Let me just minimize all this real quick. Oops. Hopefully I didn't lose everyone. Can you still see it, Stuart?
Yes,
Hello?
we can still see you.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Just make sure that Versaworks gets started here. All right, so I take this graphic here, and if I click on Send to Versaworks and click on the actual printer that I'm using, when I hit Send, what it will do is it will export the file that I have here. So I don't have to actually save it as an EPS or PDF, although you could do that if you wanted to. That's certainly possible to do. And then when it reaches my queue over here, you'll actually see, if I double click on this, it actually transfers the entire thing. You can actually see the fold lines, you can actually see the grommets, holes, and so forth. So you should be able to do that. You just simply have to set it up properly in Flexi, and then when you send it over to Versaworks, it will show up just exactly the way you want it to. So good question.
Okay, so it looks like we just have a couple more questions. I think these will be the last ones.
Okay.
But Cal asked, can I print a list of all the fonts I have at once from Flexi without typing each font at a time? I'd like to print all the fonts I have to make it easier for the customers to choose the font they want. Do you have a file with all the Flexi fonts?
Right. Yeah, the Flexi fonts actually are part of, they're extracted from the Windows font directory. So there are a number of freeware programs out there. You could just print the fonts that are in your Windows font directory, and then that list would be available to the customer. So it's nothing in Flexi itself for printing all the fonts as a booklet or something, but you can certainly print a list of all the Windows fonts, and that would be appropriate for your customer to look through.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So the last question here from Aaron. He wants to know how you get the grommet holes in the cut/plot screen.
Okay. I think that they may be talking about this screen here. This is the Production Manager. So Production Manager is where you actually get those. What you'll have is once a job is in Production Manager, if you add a job to Production Manager, what you do is you double click on that job name, whatever that job happens to be, right? Double click on it, and that's going to bring up the Production Manager dialog box here. Let me flip this. Nobody's feeling dizzy. And once you've got that in there, resize your graphic to the size that you would like to print it. And you may need to rotate it, by the way. Like I said, you may need to rotate it like that if it's too wide. But in any case, it's that tab at the top right up here, all the way near the end. It's got looks like a little grommet hole in a blue banner. When you click on that, that's where you can actually turn on all of your features. This is a good example, of saying, okay, I want to change to a different color because it's kind of hard to see white on white, isn't it? And that's where you also would add your bleed lines and your fold lines right into the graphic. So I think that's the question, and it's found in Production Manager, not in the Cut Plot menu or in the Print menu. It's actually in Production Manager itself. So if you're in Flexi and you're sending the file, what you want to do is when you click Send, what you're going to want to do is in that first tab, you're going to want to put the send mode on hold. So that would bring it over to your production manager. And then once it's in your production manager, just double-click on the name and go to that tab right here, and then that's going to open up all of your capabilities that you need for your grommets and so forth, all the options. Great question.
All right. Thank you so much, Mark. Everyone, we appreciate you coming to this webinar. And we will be sending out an email with a recording of it so you can review everything that we've gone over today. And we hope you look forward to next month's webinar as well. We'll be sending out an email with all the information. So if you have any questions that you think of in the next coming weeks, write those down somewhere and you can ask Mark during the next Q&A session. We hope you all have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Thanks for visiting, everyone. Bye-bye.